Do you want to start or you want me to start?
Go ahead and start.
Okay. So I think it's complicated. Similar to that thing I explained with the ant, there's two different situations. Same thing would go with something like rodents. So in somebody's house, I think it's perfectly acceptable for somebody to poison mice or rats that are under their house, chewing up their foundation, chewing up their electric stuff. Even though at some point in the future, I would like there to be innovations that make it to get rid of such things without the harm. I want as little harm as possible. So when it comes to something like getting food, I think that unless there was a way to get food without harming animals, if some need to be harmed, then I will still eat that food. But I think maybe it is wrong to consume something like vegan cakes or vegan cookies or vegan burgers or something where it's unhealthy. You're not getting healthy nutrients to your body and you're causing harm. So I don't think crop deaths should happen for unhealthy food. But unless I'm convinced otherwise, I will still eat rice and beans and apples and lettuce if it causes crop deaths.
Okay, so tell me what nutrients, what essential nutrients are provided by rice?
I am not an expert on nutrients. I've
Well, you just listed it as a food that would provide nutrients.
Yeah. So we have to go with what we can know without studies and looking at various different scientific takes on diets for species, including ourselves. I wouldn't know outside of trial and error without those studies. So I've looked into a handful of studies, and I have currently come to the conclusion that I think humans are probably best off on eating whole foods, especially if you're looking at somebody that is going to be, let's say somebody's going to be vegan no matter what or something. If you're going to eat no animal products, then I've been convinced that eating whole foods that just grow and you eat those whole foods are the healthiest thing you could eat, because I've been convinced that eating processed foods like processed sugars and other junk like that is not healthy. Now, can I explain the exact details of this? No. Could I be convinced otherwise? Of course. That's just where I'm currently at.
Okay, so is it appropriate for you to be listing rice as a crop that delivers essential human nutrition if you don't know that that's a fact?
Yes.
Okay, so which plants do you know are delivering essential nutrition
No, I
for
don't. That's what I'm
humans?
saying. I don't need to know.
You don't need to know, but you're allowed to list a bunch of plants as essential for human nutrition. Don't you have to pick one or the
Well,
other?
in case you want numbers, I believe two people from your channel are one saying B6 and magnesium, and then another is saying fiber and yeah, magnesium. But anyways, I don't care about having that answer because no, I think
Did you read the entire comment about that B6 and magnesium? What was that last part of that comment?
oh, was it a negative thing? Okay, then down to Mark, it was fiber and magnesium, which is weird if one's saying there's not magnesium. I'm not sure, but anyways, I just wanted to read those because I saw those. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Because I don't think
It matters because vegans continue to paint plant nutrition as superior to animal
yeah.
nutrition. And really, if you can't show us, if you can't demonstrate that to be a fact, then that's not a fair thing for you to say.
Can you demonstrate that to be a fact? Your stance?
I can.
No.
I can't. Yes, I can. I can
That's
actually. The USDA has calculated, measured the
mhm.
nutrients in all kinds of foods. So if you would like, we can compare something like beef liver to rice, and we can see which one actually delivers more essential nutrition than the other. Would you like
I
to do that?
I have no interest in doing that. I don't know why I would have any
But
interest in doing
well, the
that.
reason why you would have an interest is because you just asked me if I could prove that or not. The answer is yes, I can.
No,
You're
no.
not interested in seeing that proof.
No, you're claiming that you can show that one thing might have more something than another thing.
No. What I said was I can show you that beef liver has more human essential nutrients than rice. I didn't say whatever this and that, and I didn't use a bunch of
Yeah.
generic words.
No, I'm saying
used
one versus another.
specifics.
Mhm.
No, I used specifics. I said beef liver and rice. Would you like to compare beef liver and rice when it comes to the essential nutrients required for human health?
No, for multiple reasons. But the main one would be the amount of things we would have to look into to figure out that what we should take from that would. I mean, it would be endless how long that would take to figure out. I mean, if your claim is just that you know for a fact that humans shouldn't consume much produce, and that's the end of it, then I don't know what to tell you.
I never said that. I never. You're quoting me on things that I never said, Carson.
Okay. Well, I have no intention of doing that, so I'm sorry if I did that.
Well, then let's get back to reality,
Yeah,
and let's
fair
talk
enough.
about the fact that what we're here to talk about is crop deaths.
Yes.
And these crop deaths either matter or they don't.
Yeah.
You need to take a position on insect deaths.
Correct.
And we need to do that before we move forward. They either matter or they don't. Now, no, I understand your bullshit excuse of, well, I can't be bothered with worrying about an ant that I unintentionally step on. Therefore, that I don't care about. No, we're talking, you're talking about what happens underneath your shoes when you're walking. But that's changing the subject, Carson. We're talking about crop deaths. So when it comes to acquiring food, insects matter or they don't. You can't sit on the fence about this anymore. You have to pick one. They either matter or they don't. Honey is either vegan or it's not. If it's vegan, then that means all insect lives and all insect exploitation matters. And when you start, you come into a wild area that is thriving with biodiversity, all types of species are going through their life cycles, and you bulldoze that, you destroy it, you plow it all up, you spray it down with toxic agrochemicals, and you drive pollinators towards extinction so much that the crop agriculture is now relying on those people who are producing honey. Those people that are producing your crops require pollinators. Are you denying that crop agriculture does not rely on professional beekeepers?
I'm not denying anything like.
Okay, would you admit it? Would you admit it?
Would I admit that they rely on beekeepers? I would admit that if you're claiming they do, and I'm guessing you're not lying. Sure, I don't have a full understanding of crop agriculture. But hold on, just before you you keep going with that. So as we know, I have a stance on what I think veganism should mean, but we don't need to talk about that. We can talk about what veganism actually means just by definition. So by definition, by the Vegan Society definition, it involves the idea of what is practicable. And so
is that an objective measurement?
Practicable.
How do you measure? How do you measure practicable?
You don't, which is why I think it's stupid. Which is why I think the definition should be more of a philosophy that does not involve your actions. Because I agree, veganism is on a spectrum especially because of crop deaths. Like, you cannot be vegan and consume crops that insects die in. You can't be. Which is why the definition is dumb, and which is why the definition that involves practicable, what that definition would bring it down to is you can be vegan if only you are solely eating for your health or your survival, I guess, not necessarily your health. And therefore, overeating calories, by that definition, must be not vegan. If it is practicable to not be overweight, then that would mean an overweight vegan is not vegan by the Vegan Society definition. So I'm with you. This is worth analyzing and breaking down. There is issue with crop deaths, but I don't know if I'm convinced that there are enough crop deaths to make me think that that is more immoral than the acts of animal agriculture. And part of that is due to I care less about insects than I do about other animals, depending on the outcome. I think we have to factor in things like the accidental side of when you poison the insects, that leads to the bird deaths. Now, it doesn't matter that it's accidental. It is an intentional action that leads to an accidental outcome that is a bad outcome. So we have to view this as bad. The question is, what are the numbers? How do I know if this apple is causing more harm to sentient beings than this steak? And that's kind of what I want to learn. And maybe I'll learn a little bit of it today.
First of all, are you equating an apple with a steak when it comes to nutritional sustenance?
Within that type of a hypothetical, I think you just have to you'd have to neutralize.
Right, but let's move from the hypothetical into the real world.
Real life.
Do you think that an apple is comparable to a steak when it comes to essential nutrients?
No, I would assume that an apple is far more healthy.
You would assume that an apple is far more healthy than a steak based on what?
Based on any studies I've ever looked at, and based
okay, so
on...
which essential nutrients are there in an apple that aren't there in a steak?
That aren't there in a steak? I don't know. What, like vitamin C? Well, I don't know exactly what you mean by essential nutrients.
Okay. Okay, is vitamin, first of all, someone that's on a carnivore diet, that's not eating any carbohydrates, do they require the same amount of vitamin C as someone who's on a high carbohydrate diet?
I don't know. I've actually never heard of this idea. So what do you think? Or what do you know?
Well, I know that carbohydrates and vitamin C utilize the same site receptors, which means that someone who's on a low carb or no carb carnivore diet requires very little vitamin C.
Gotcha.
Because the vitamin C that's required on a high carbohydrate diet is much, much, much higher than someone who's on a low carb or no carb animal foods based diet. So this idea, and the second issue is that beef liver has a lot of vitamin C. In fact, more vitamin C than an apple contains.
Yeah. I vaguely was familiar with organs. I don't know if all organs, but I think all organs might have vitamin C. And there's various nutrients that you usually only get from produce that you can maybe even get in animal brains. I've heard that some people consume like brain parts. But yeah, I don't know the exact details. And but I don't feel like I need to either.
Well, if you're going to make claims, then yes, you need to be able to back those claims up. Otherwise, just don't bother making the claims. Can we agree on that?
If you're going to make claims, don't do it unless you can back them up. It depends on what the claim is. If I'm claiming that I've read handfuls of studies and I've looked at various things, and some people say that you can be perfectly healthy on a carnivore diet, where others would say paleo, others would say keto, others would say plant-based. And there's various studies that show benefits of all these. And we can see that there's things these all have in common. Every single one of these would say something like, don't consume processed sugars, cakes, cookies, stuff like that. Don't consume seed oils. Likely most would say something like that. And so we can see what a lot of them have in common. But what we have now is what the studies do reveal. And many, many health professionals, people with doctorates, scientists will say that a plant-based diet is perfectly healthy. But also it seems like a lot are saying a carnivore diet is healthy. So me saying that I accept one of these routes doesn't mean that I have to somehow prove in a way to get you to accept that it's better than one of the other routes that's accepted as well. It just means I shouldn't tell people they can live off of cake.
You're telling people they can live off of apples. And so you're going,
I'm not saying people can live off of apples. You said out of apples and steak. What are my thoughts?
People can live off of steak, but they can't live off of apples.
Yeah, if I had to go the rest of my life eating just apples or just steaks, I'd want to know the facts. And if you're correct, then I would eat just steaks for the rest of my life. I care way more about myself than I do about animals.
Yes, but this goes back to your original claim, which was that you assume that apples are healthier than steak. And
yeah.
again,
I guess if you're talking about an overall, if you're monomealing the rest of your life, that's not what I was referring to. I was just referring to which thing would be better to consume, one apple or one steak.
Right. And what I tried to get you to do is I tried to have you illustrate why you assume that apples are healthier than steak. And the only thing you could do is to appeal to authority. And I asked you in the comments of my channel, which authority are you trying to use this fallacy with? And you said the American Dietetics Association, did you not?
I was thinking I'm pretty sure that's the one that said at all stages of life, a well-planned vegan diet is acceptable.
Okay. That was a position paper, was it not?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, so I will tell you that was a position paper, which is an opinion paper. And secondly, is that paper currently in play? Was it renewed?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay. Do you know anything about position papers?
Nothing. I've never heard of a position paper until right
Okay,
now.
but you're referring to a position paper by the American Dietetic Association.
Because you asked me a question, so I did a quick Google search and I sent something to you.
Okay.
I wasn't like having that be the declaration of my debate to win $1 million.
Carson, if you're going to claim that veganism is appropriate for all stages of life, then you have to back that up. And I asked you to back it up, and you did it by
I'm not claiming that I know it is, which is why when people talk about legal stuff, I will say that it shouldn't become illegal to eat animals because we have nowhere near enough studies to make a decision like that. Because I would rather people be at optimal health than protect animals.
Okay,
and then
Carson.
the protecting comes after that.
Let's look at it this way, okay? You like hypotheticals.
I love it.
Rather than real world. Okay, so let's say hypothetically that I'm a vegan and I publish a position paper that states that a vegan diet is appropriate for human beings in all stages of life.
Okay.
And you, rather than taking the time to learn the details to figure out that on your own, if that's true or not, you're going to rely upon me so that you can invoke the fallacy of authority. That is a fallacy. Okay? Just because some authority says something is true doesn't mean that it is. However, you can at least refer to that entity. In this case, it would be me as a vegan saying that veganism is appropriate for all life stages of a human being. However,
I have not
position papers have expiration dates. It's sort of like a certification that requires renewal. Okay, so there are certifications out there that you have to renew, and if you let them expire, then they're no longer valid. Okay? So that's the way position papers work. The American Dietetics Association did have that position paper that did make that claim. However, since then, two important things have happened. Okay? First of all, Susan Levin, which was one of four primary scientists there. This is a woman who wrote countless articles talking about how veganism protects against colon cancer. She died of colon cancer. After she died of colon cancer, the expiration date of that paper that you're referring to as current came and went. And the American Dietetic Association decided not to renew that paper. And they
decided
currently,
not to, or it was not renewed.
they decided not to renew it, and as a result, it was not renewed.
Okay.
I emailed them and asked them why they didn't renew it. They wouldn't say why they didn't renew it. They would only say that they were working on the idea of renewing it again, but had to have time to cherry pick researchers in order to
They announced that they wanted to cherry pick?
They told me that they were looking for researchers to pull together in order to come out with a position on vegan/vegetarian diets. Right now, they don't have a position. Now, if you're filtering through researchers trying to pick specific ones, that's called cherry picking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm familiar. Mm-hmm.
So they didn't use the word cherry. I'm using that word to describe in reality what they're doing. Did they say that they were going to come out and renew that position? They did not tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a community post that goes over this. I have screenshots from my email conversations with them. Mm-hmm. And they refuse right now to renew the paper that you're referencing. And they also refuse right now to reassert any position on the vegan diet or the vegetarian diet. And really, the vegan diet and the vegetarian diet are opposite from one another. One's got animal products in it and the other one doesn't. So anytime a vegan tries to invoke studies or any facts about vegetarianism to support their diet, that's intellectual dishonesty. And it's fraud. Mm-hmm. Because you're either including animal products in your diet or you're not. Yeah. To put vegetarianism and veganism together in one group is absolute BS. And anyone who does that cannot be trusted.
Okay, I'm going to pause you here real quick. So here's the thing. How I view most things is either I'm convinced or I'm not convinced. And so when it comes to something like diet, like I've said, I mean, in my mind, you kind of have to appeal to authority in the sense of authority plus studies. But I feel like it'd be connected to authority. Anyways, So I will be convinced as I'm convinced, and if I am, I am. I don't think we need to really go over it any further because I don't think I'm going to be convinced despite being told about it. You could send me what you think is the most convincing study or meta-analysis of why whatever diet you think is best, and I'll check it out. But as of now, with all the ideas that all the people have, I've been convinced that you can be, at least someone can be. I haven't been convinced to say that everybody at all stages can be vegan. I was just pointing out that was said by others. I am not saying that, which is why I stand against the idea of making it illegal to eat animals.
Actually, I can show you where you said that you would probably vote to criminalize all animal agriculture. So
there have
again, you need to pick. Yep. Carson, you need to pick one or the other because now you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. I can prove to you today that you have said otherwise, that you would. No. You didn't say that you would. You said that you probably would. And you also are feeding your daughter. You say that she was born vegan. Mm-hmm. And are you claiming that you don't believe that a vegan diet is appropriate for all stages? Because that would indicate that you're experimenting in a way that
likely is. I'm
basically
not declaring
Russian roulette with your daughter's health.
I'm not declaring that I know it must be. I think it is. I think that I am feeding my daughter the best. I mean, for the most part, like not even just the fact that it's vegan, the actual healthiest choices you could feed one at whatever age it happens to be. But yes, there's a difference between claiming that I feel that this is likely the case, And obviously I'd want to go off what I think is likely the case versus declaring it must be fact for everyone. I have no interest in
Then stick
declaring
to that position. If you believe that that's a
I do.
fact, then stick to that position and stop riding the fence and saying that you don't know.
I have
If
no
you
interest.
if you know well enough to limit your daughter's diet to an unbalanced diet, all plants,
Yeah.
and you think that an apple contains more essential human nutrients than a steak,
I did not make that
then
claim.
yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did.
I did not say that I think an apple contains more essential nutrients. I
You
did not make
you
any
said an
statements at
apple
all.
is healthier than a steak.
Yeah, I said if I had to guess which one would be healthier, if I ate one apple or
Okay,
one
by
steak.
healthy, what do you mean? Again, you're using these subjective terms,
Yeah.
and you're using them to ride the fence. So
I'm
you
not
need
trying
to
to ride
pick.
any fence.
There's a lot of things that you're trying to ride the fence on, and today we're going to put you on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence.
Yeah, go for it. No, and here's the thing. Well, first I want to reply to a thing you said a second ago, just to clarify, in case you missed it in the conversations. When the couple times I said I probably or I might accept that idea of that law of outlawing owning and killing animals is only based on the idea that when that happened, we discovered that it was unhealthy for somebody, we'd have to reverse it immediately because I care more about optimal human health than I care about the animals. But after optimal vegan health, I care about, I think it is a moral duty to care about sentient beings. So those couple times I said that, I was very specific on that. As for the there's no fence riding of declaring that I think that the most optimal diet, which I think would be probably something like any average primate would be, where it's probably more optimal to eat insects than to not eat insects, because we are primates. And so we are probably somewhat similar to chimpanzees, where we should probably be getting 75% of our food from fruit. And then we also consume some other things. I'm not declaring I know this to be fact.
Okay.
I'm saying that seems likely to me from my knowledge. Plus the studies I have looked into make me feel that I think it's fine and I think it's best for myself and my family.
Okay. Look, Carson.
Yeah.
A chimpanzee has a functioning cecum.
Okay.
Do you know what a functioning cecum is?
No, but I wrote it down from last time we talked, and I actually didn't.
You haven't bothered to look it
right
up
now. Correct. Cecum. Go for it. I'm just looking it up, but you can keep talking.
Okay. Where chimpanzees have a functioning cecum, we have an appendix, which is considered vestigial. It's not a functioning cecum. The purpose, the biological function of a cecum is to produce cecotropes. Cecotropes are food items. Okay?
Yep.
So there are two types of herbivores. And we're talking about, we can agree that humans are mammals. There's two types of herbivorous mammals. There's foregut fermenters and hindgut fermenters. A foregut fermenter has a four-chambered stomach. The first three chambers are there to cultivate microorganisms that forage and grow and multiply on fiber, cellulose. We don't have that. The fourth chamber in a ruminant stomach is a hydrochloric acid chamber, just like we've got at the bottom of our esophagus. Every time you see a hydrochloric acid chamber in a digestive system, it's there to break down proteins and fats.
Okay.
Not cellulose. It won't digest cellulose. And so a cow, for instance, is not eating grass to feed itself. A cow is eating grass to feed the bacteria that are in the rumen. It moves from the first chamber to the second chamber to the third chamber, and by the time that bacterial mass is ready to be dumped into the fourth chamber, which is a hydrochloric acid bath, that mass of microorganisms is equivalent to, say, a large jackrabbit, because a trillion single cellular organisms is very similar to 1 trillion celled organism. And so you've got all these cell walls that are made of essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, B vitamins, the whole gambit of what's required for the cow. So the cow doesn't have to eat cecotropes, because the hydrochloric acid bath comes after the cultivation of all of these bacteria. For something like a chimpanzee, there's no hydrochloric acid bath. And so it actually has to pass the cecotrope and then eat the cecotrope. And that's where it derives a large portion of its essential fatty acids, essential amino acids, essential vitamins and minerals, including B12. If that's where hindgut mammals, hindgut fermenters, get a large portion of their nutrition. Humans do not have a functioning cecum. They do not have a functioning rumen. 100% of the plants that you're eating today did not exist. A very short time ago, the broccoli that you eat never existed. The apples that you eat didn't exist.
Correct.
None of these plants existed. And we know medical anthropologists will tell you, whenever they look at human remains, in order to, like if I was to find human remains on my property, call the police, they would send out, not just the police, but they would send out a medical anthropologist, because that medical anthropologist would need to determine the status of these remains. Mm-hmm. And so, are these bones from yesterday? Are they from 10 years ago? Are they from 100 years ago? Are they from 10,000 years ago? Are they from before the agricultural revolution? And if it was before the agricultural revolution, there would be certain things missing from the skeletal remains. Things like tooth decay, caries, or cavities, signs of infection on the bones, strong, prominent tuberosities where the muscles attach. All of these would indicate that it was before the crop agriculture revolution, which points to the fact that before we were eating all these crops, we were eating a primary and animal-based diet, because that's what's available year-round to human beings. In fact, all of the studies looking at pre-agricultural revolution were animal-based. 50 to 70% animal-based.
Can I pause you real quick? Okay, so here's the thing. I do like learning about this kind of stuff. I think it's interesting. My quick thought on the chimp thing, I wasn't trying to make any stance that I know something to be the case. I'm interested in the things that you were sharing. It's something I hope to know more about at some point. But here's the thing. We could stick on nutrition if you want, but with the idea of talking about crop deaths, what I factor in is that to some people, to some vegans, and to how you view my stance on nutrition, a vegan might not care about their health. And so therefore we would like the original vegans, the ones that started the movement. They actually 30 years after they started veganism, were talking about how excited they were that that studies were showing it could be healthy to be vegan, because they actually did it thinking that they were going to die young, because they were just doing some noble thing, which I think is crazy, but that's cool that they were doing it. But I guess when it comes to crop deaths, if we want to hop back to crop deaths, in my mind, it doesn't need to matter about the nutrition whatsoever. If we're deciding if the crop deaths is a reason to not be vegan, it would just be comparing the animal harm in crops to the animal harm in animal agriculture.
Okay.